Okay. All right. Good morning. Good morning, everybody out there in Howard Hanna land, and welcome to this morning's sales meeting webinar. You'll see some recognizable faces on here, Joanne, Bibi, and Tom, and we are appreciative of you all being able to join us this morning to talk about getting back to business here in the yellow phase. So Kate Lesor, you might also recognize. Kate's going to jump off because she's teaching a fast start class in a couple minutes. And we're going to let you guys all have time to get on. We have about 138 participants as of right now. What was the, how many people do we think were going to be signed up? Does anybody know?
150 to 200 probably, Hobie, somewhere down there.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Just to know the pre-registers. We'll let everybody join on and say hello. So good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning. Good to see everyone. Well, we don't see everyone, but thanks everyone for jumping on. You know, as we have additional counties heading into the yellow phases, and we've not only invited in Central, well, Beaver, welcome our Beaver agents and Chippewa agents. Their Beaver County has now gone to yellow and joined the rest of southwestern Pennsylvania. They'll be going yellow on May 22nd, this upcoming Friday, and then you know, a nice portion of our office in Central Pennsylvania will be joining this Friday, the yellow phase, and we anticipate that shortly thereafter, the balance of the counties will, Dauphin and Lancaster will join, hopefully not too shortly after. But it's nice that we've invited everybody just so we can explain you know, the processes, procedures that we believe are the appropriate processes and procedures as we move into the yellow phase to stay within the guidelines of the CDC, Department of Health, and most especially the governor's directions that are coming out of Harrisburg. You know, hopefully by now you would have received the pencil. There's a nice collection of information that we had sent on. Pennsylvania practices and procedures for entering into the yellow phase. Hopefully you have that. If not, please check with your office manager. I know they were sent out several times last week. But if you should, for some reason, do not have one, get one. It's sort of your guideline.
Again.
Yeah, we'll send it again after. Yeah, we'll send it again after this webinar. But that's sort of your guidelines. And then in addition to that, there is the PAR acknowledgements that PAR had put out about 3 weeks after we had the Howard Hanna acknowledgement for the COVID acknowledgement. Those are also part of the package that you received, and that's exactly what they are. They are acknowledgements. They are not required, and they are not mandated. You can certainly present those to your buyers or sellers, and you're going to hear a lot of terms as we move through here about common sense and using common sense as we move through here. Also, if you have some questions, please use the Q&A section of the Zoom, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we have as we move forward. You know, other than that, I'm going to turn it back over to Hobie, and it's good to hopefully see we got now 152 people online. So thank you all for joining us, and we're moving forward to the exciting time of getting back at full speed at real estate. So, Hobie?
Good. Yeah, thanks, Tom. And again, good morning, everybody. And thanks for jumping on this call. We plan on blocking about an hour of your time. If you need more, you know, with questions, we definitely can, or we'll follow up individually. So we're sort of getting old hat at this. This is about the third webinar as in terms of Pennsylvania, as the state has opened up in the phases in this yellow phase. 2 weeks ago on a Monday, we were with our markets in Erie, Pennsylvania, and then the Shenango Valley of Pennsylvania, right below Erie, sort of opening the market up for them with yellow phase 2 weeks ago. Then last Monday, as many of you know, as you followed this, we had the meeting with most of Western Pennsylvania, other than Beaver County, and we're glad you're here today. And we walk through sort of Monday what that process would look like. You know, we've done this in all different markets. Annie Engel, as well as Tom and the regionals, have put a lot of time and effort into interpreting and understanding the governor's rules for the yellow phase for real estate and how we're going to operate in that. That's why you see these forms, and we want to adhere to them and use them. Our goal today is to talk a little bit about the yellow phase, but also talk about, okay, what do we do this week in anticipation for Friday to open up and impact and maximize our business and take some of the best practices that other agents have used in other markets. So let's just talk about the procedures that we're going to talk about first. The first thing I want to say on any procedures now as we open up in the yellow phase, I guess the first thing I'll review is that we all know that there's many of you on this call that are just, you're itching to get out. Some of you have also, we've sold some real estate during this period of time, virtually, smartly, intelligently, to service our clients. But many of you who have been home, you've taken great time and advantage of talking to your clients and customers, telling them when this yellow phase opens, we'll be back to go to work, creating that pent up demand. And if Beaver County and the parts of central Pennsylvania that are opening, or anywhere else in Pennsylvania or any other market for that matter, we're going to see a huge weekend coming this weekend. It's going to be a real blitz of activity that is coming this weekend from a pent up buyer and seller demand and agent demand. And so we've got to prepare for it. That being said, as I've said all along in any webinars, if you've been to the town hall webinars, and I know the training departments and managers have said this virus has divided people's perspectives, their fears. It's unfortunately now even got to a degree of politics at times. And I think what we've asked this is a family. We are the Hanna family and a Hanna family business. So a couple of things we ask you to do is, number one, we've heard the line that's been used by many people. We're all in the same ocean, but not the same boat. Many people look at this virus differently. I, for one, am probably a little more open to it. In terms of concern, I think it's a virus. You could, if you were in town and wanted to come visit me at my house, you could come to my house and I wouldn't make you wear a mask and I wouldn't make you take your shoes off. That's just how my family's perspective. However, I've got one of my best friends that has an immune compromised child that they're staying home. They don't care what's opened up in markets. They're just giving themselves time to make sure they feel safe. We have many agents who their own health may have some immunity issues. And so you don't feel compelled and completely safe to go out just because the governor says that it's a yellow phase. You're not necessarily compelled to say, hey, I want to go out and start selling real estate. And that's where other agents can help you. That's where your manager can help you. So you help and service those clients and nobody has to feel bad or shamed or otherwise. And many of you are going to be Katie bar the door, look out, Friday's coming and you're going to go out and you're going to service those customers and clients. And we shouldn't, whatever your perspective is, we should work together and work safely. And that being said, the first rule for anything we're going to discuss, which is showings and interactions and office openings and going, is that we say, if you don't feel well, if you have a fever, if you're not feeling good in this time, you know what? See if somebody else can cover your business. Do not come into the office. Do not be a superhero. I know a lot of us grind. I'm one of them that in the past, if I got sick, I'd be like, yeah, I'll grind it into the office and I'll get my work done. And that's the American way and work ethic. This virus has showed us if you don't feel well, stay home. You can do so much, as we've all proven in the last 8 weeks, online, virtually. And the Howard Hanna Company was built in its tech stack and its technology and its training to be able to support our agents. So please remember that no matter where your perspective is. Now, that being said, being safe and being healthy and following guidelines is important. So let's talk about the offices first and what our plan is with our offices. The offices themselves on Friday in those markets will be open to agents. And what I mean by that is that agents are welcome to come into the office. You're welcome to, if you need to meet clients there, you're welcome to come in and use the common area computers and printers and paper and contracts, or if you just need to get out of the house and want a different venue to work, by all means, they're there. However, we do ask some guidelines around the offices. One is that you wear a mask of some sort. I mean, I'm in my office in Ohio today. Very few people are here. We're still skeleton crewed at our corporate office. But I just have this bandana that serves as my mask. I wore it when I walked into the building because we share with other tenants. And now that I'm in my office itself and not interacting with anybody, I've removed it. But when you're in the office and you're walking around, We ask that you have a mask. We ask that you're doing that for others and there's protection. If there's nobody in the office, you can take your mask down and so forth, but let's be smart about that. Two, we're not going to bring our admin staff back to the offices just now, just because it's the yellow phase. And there's some reasons why, and we know we have admins here and they may be curious. There's a couple reasons why. Number one, we're still in the process, like most of the country, of getting the PPE materials, the protection materials, built-in hand sanitizers, built-in dispensers with Clorox wipes that'll be built into the wall so people don't have to touch things. We're still figuring out spatial requirements in an office. How close desks can be. Do we need to order plexiglass? I mean, these are things that a whole staff, a facilities group is working on and trying to figure out so that norm is back in safety. We also know that a lot of our administrative assistants, those are on the call, you've done an incredible job working remotely from home to keep us supported, whether it's entry into Profit Power or into the advertising vehicles or helping an agent on the side or input into a model-less listing. You've all been there for us, and we have the ability for you to work remotely, or as you have, even if it's that you've come into the office for an hour or two, pick up some files, put it in the mail, get it to, we'll bring you back, but we don't want you to feel like you're not safe. We don't want you to feel like, why are you being brought back to work 8:30 to 5 or whatever the hours, and people come and go. And we just want to have that complete safety, and we don't, want we don't want anybody feeling like they're forced to come back when we can work remotely very intelligently right now and support our agents and continue that process. That would be the same thing with sales meetings. We're not going to jump into big sales meetings. Let's keep using Zoom. Let's keep using that. As we get further into yellow and get into green, we'll bring back some of that camaraderie that you want in an office and sales meetings. We ask that everybody be thoughtful of the environment. So if you're in the office, wipe things down. Don't assume anybody else did. So if you go and you use the common computer, please wipe the computer down before and after you use it, or the printer or whatever you touch. Just assume that wasn't done by somebody else, and it'd just be a lot easier. We also, same thing with your desk. You don't know who was in there before and who was there later. Agents, we're not going to have the office open right away with opportunity hours either. We've been able to handle those phone calls. We're not going to put big signs saying, hey, come on in to the public that we don't know. We'd rather you make appointments. And part of that reason is we don't want to have offices like full with 40 people. I know that I heard that maybe that offices were a little fuller in some places in Western Pennsylvania last week than others. But we'd rather, if you need to meet with a client, know it so that there's enough space for that client as well, and other people in the office and in the conference rooms. And so a lot of managers will just be sort of creating a calendar that you can just online use with each other. They'll get it set up that you can just register, hey, you've got an appointment, you've got your meeting, loan officer's meeting with somebody, whatever it may be. But remember, we can do as much virtual right now still as possible, because we don't want to see us just disregard everything and then have an issue where we're closing an office back down. Or granted, your governor seems to be a little stricter and more in control, or want to be in control, than other places. So let's not give the governor any reasons to change his mind about the yellow phase. Again, just remembering, no one should enter an office if you're feeling symptomatic or not feeling well at all. I want to talk about with customers and clients. Remember that Pennsylvania forms are still required. So when you're meeting with a customer, you need the consumer notice, buy all the listing agreements, disclosures. So you still need to get those things executed. And then we've also added into this deck, if you haven't seen it, there's an acknowledgement form that Howard Hanna created like day one. John Deegan and our legal team created like day one of COVID. That's our acknowledgement form. But there also is all the PAR agreements that are there. Now, I want to talk about that. Tom mentioned the agreements themselves are not mandated. A lot of these rules are mandate versus best practice. The agreements aren't mandated. What we have found over the last couple markets that are opening is that agents feel more comfortable having something signed by buyer and seller. Now, our attorneys have said to us, you'd have to be living under a rock not to know that if you're going to look at houses this week, or you're going to allow your house to be shown in the next few weeks, that people may have had COVID, people may have been sick in the past. You're taking that chance if you're going out to sell. But a lot of agents just have felt compelled that having that acknowledgement makes them feel better. And that's why they're there. So you practice intelligently, smartly, how you feel good or your clients do. and it's there. Now, obviously, I like the Howard Hanna acknowledgement form. It's one page, it's easy. But we also gave you PAR because what we found is that some brokerages and even some agents were creating their own forms, not having them reviewed by any legal counsel anywhere. And so let's not get into a fight between brokerages over my form versus your form. Let's default to PAR's form, and not get into any kind of spitting match with another agent or somebody else. If it's two Hanna agents and you want to use the Hanna form, great. If it's another company that says, I'm not, if I need to have any form, but let's just not get into that spitting match. As I mentioned, we're going to continue with a lot of virtual meetings and sales training going on, and we'll eventually move back into live things in smaller groups. And even what those smaller group sizes are. We don't want to get into, that's varies in different states. It varies by what the CDC says. So we'll just allow phases to open and let society open and get back to what's normal. Open houses. During this yellow phase, we are asking that in-person open houses shall not occur. We're not going to promote them. We're not going to market them. We're doing a great job with virtual open houses. We're doing a great time of setting appointments to show, and saying, hey, here's where I'm going to be. So we want to have that consistent schedule and keep that process. We will let you know when open houses can come out. Going to get you in trouble or ourselves in trouble over that. I can tell you we're looking at opening that in Ohio. They've been essential from the beginning, but the governor's office said, please no open houses. This weekend, they said, okay, if you can have a strict policy and mandate timing, but I'm going to be honest with you, it's really confusing. It's like, how do you set up the appointments? How do you go open? And a lot of agents are saying virtual's working just fine, and they're getting even more traffic than they did at open houses. So let's just be smart and safe about that. Listings. Listen, you can go on listing appointments now. You can do as much virtual as you want, but you can be there live in somebody's house. Again, smart practice. Let's not have like 10 people in the house. Let's talk to the seller in advance. We are asking that you wear a mask, the state is recommending masks or some form of face covering. I'm sorry, it could be a scarf, could be a face covering, gloves, and foot coverings. Now, foot coverings comes into a big debate, and a lot of questions come out of this because PAR, their original interpretation was shoe covers in terms of booties. And then when they put that out there with boards, a lot of agents, when things opened, said, well, where am I going to get the booties? Where am I going to get the correct size? And they went back to their boards and said, well, aren't you going to provide these for me and provide gloves? And where do I get all this material? And when we go back, we really interpreted that the governor is asking for masks and gloves. Foot coverings, quite honestly, could be shoes. Foot coverings could be socks. It's just not your bare foot is the way. So you could get, if you feel comfortable, you can go and you can get shoe covers. You can buy gloves. You can provide that. You can say to your clients in advance, we're going to go look at houses. This is what you're going to need. You can talk to sellers and say, and another agent say, do you have booties? No. Do you? What do you have to help me out with the PPE? And some sellers might say to you, it's all right. Just take your shoes off at the front door. I mean, quite honestly, if you were showing my house, if it was for sale right now, I would say you can walk in without your mask or your shoe coverings. But what would be more important to me is, do you have a pre-approval to come into my house? That would be my mindset. Not as much about the health. And then my responsibility as a homeowner would also be, even if you say you wipe things down, I'm going to wipe things down later. And I'm going to, put the Clorox and Clorox wipes on the hard surfaces and doorknobs and everything else. You got to use that common sense. You got to be talking more and communicating more to your seller of, hey, if we're going to show, here's what we're recommending. Are you good with these guidelines or not? And not only is this guideline form helpful for consumers, but on our website, very early on, we created a couple blogs. Those blogs are softer. They're more of a marketing way of how to sell and show and look at houses during COVID. A lot of agents last week were sending that to their buyers the night before on Thursday night, saying, please review this. It was softer than the guidelines and saying, hey, don't forget to bring a mask or so forth, and having that conversation. Again, you'll have the forms. If you want the COVID advisory form for a seller on a listing appointment or a buyer, that's there. You can use it just to make sure they're all aware and if it makes you feel more comfortable. We are going to ask our sellers when the house is shown, if they're still living there, is to help us, is to have doors open, have lights on, have things. The softer version can be found on howardhanna.com under the blog site and on GoHanna. And Kathy, we will make sure that gets pushed out to everybody as well. I just saw the question pop up at the corner of my eye. But we're also asking our sellers to help us out, again, in common sense. ask them to wipe things down, turn lights on, have the house bright. Almost look at it as the better staging than we've ever done. You know, I mean, a week ago it snowed in Cleveland and I would have told sellers, put your fireplace on. You know, even though it's May, stage that house, make it feel comfortable, get as many lights on, but let them turn the light switches and you don't turn them off. You say, hey, when I leave, will you turn them off? That way you're not as many people touching things and touching doors and so forth. Again, we're encouraging no more than 2 persons plus the list, plus the agent attend showings. So we're asking for not whole families to come in. We're asking that if the whole family does show up, that you say, okay, well, mom and dad, why don't you come in? And then if you leave, you know, mom and dad maybe come back with Uncle Larry if he needs to see the house and Aunt Jill. But let's not have like a whole house party going on of people seeing the homes and how we manage that. If you're having multiple showings, and that happened a lot this week, guys and gals, a lot of multiple showings this week, you got to be smart about how you're staggering the showings. Because if you know, I know that basic form of sales marketing is that if BB calls me and says she wants to show up between 1 and 3, I say, how about 1 o'clock? If Joanne called and said, I want to show up between 1 and 3, I might say, how about 1:15? Because I'd want them like seeing each other to create urgency and create the bidding battle. Well, that's not how we can't work that way. We've got to sort of be, okay, 1 to 1:30. I really need you to be there. And maybe the next showing at 2 o'clock. So you have time, if you're going to be at the showings, to sort of wipe things down, be there, invite people in. We also had, just as best practice, we had some folks last week who had like 20 buyers wanting to see a house. I mean, because we all know there's not enough inventory. So the listing agent was going to the house themselves and they said, all right, you know, I'm going to best schedule you at 1:45. But I'll text you when you can come in, because they had so many people coming in and out. And one house had like 20 buyers looking at it in like a 3-hour period. So that it's, again, it's common sense. It's be smart. It's over communicate with agents across the board. So we have the best practice. Inspections and vendor access, they can be done, and the inspectors can, they have their same rules requiring them to wear masks and face coverings and so forth. So you can tell that seller that they'll be practicing that as well. And again, we're asking inspectors not to have more than 2 people at an open house. So it's there. Closings, we're going to continue with barristers doing closings in the same capacity that they've been doing. Closings should be done virtually wherever possible, or as limited number of crowds of people. Live closings, we ask that only buyers and sellers be there. I'm not sure if in central Pennsylvania, do you do round table or do you do escrow closings, Joanne?
Round table.
Okay. Round table.
All right. So just so everybody knows, like the only market we really do this still a round table closing, where it's like buyers come, sellers come. It's like a big, everybody's family comes, the agents come, you all sit around for hours. Is Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania into central Pennsylvania. Most of our other markets are an escrow closing, which means buyers sign separately, sellers sign separately. Like a lot of our markets, the agents aren't even at the closing. They're just told when their buyer is executed. So we can manage that and we can do that. And barristers will continue with their same process during the yellow phase of where they're going to close and setting up those sort of regional closing centers just to keep safe and secure there. So, if you look at those documents, they're all there. We've given you even how you should know about COVID-19 to protect yourself and others from the CDC. We've given you a lot of great pieces so that you have them, so you can be safe and comfortable. And again, I can't reiterate enough of, in setting up showings and going on listing appointments, it's just communication. It's the extra 10 minutes of a phone call with people to say, you know, hey, I need these forms signed. How many people are you going to be there? Do you have PPE? Do I need to provide it for you? My seller's okay if you just take your shoes off because I don't have shoe covers. Just talking and executing there as best as possible will make this whole thing easier and work better. Now, I'm going to jump into a couple things, then we'll go to questions, but a couple things that I think are just as important, if not more important than what we just covered. Because if you read the material, it's straightforward. And if you've read anything on any of these states, like I said before, there's mandate and recommendation. I mean, I was telling the team before you guys all came on that, like, my kids play baseball, and in Ohio, baseball is now allowed to be played. No other sports yet, just baseball and softball, tennis and golf. And the recommendations versus the mandates for baseball are so confusing that every baseball league is going to have, I mean, they tell you it's recommended you be 6 feet apart. Now, if anybody's ever played baseball or softball, you've got, you know, the batter, the catcher, and an umpire. How do you do that 6 feet apart, you know, and still play the game of baseball? So one son's a catcher. So we sort of were talking about that last night. And, he said, well, what am I supposed to do? Not be able to throw a runner out, not be able to I mean, it's not to digress into baseball, but so when you look at the recommendation, it's recommended, but it's not mandated. And there's a lot of that's here. So in doubt, just use common sense and cooperate and do what's right. And if in doubt, you have a question, please call your manager or regional and just use common sense through there. However, there's 3 major things I want everybody to focus on this week that to me are really important to help you get open. First, we know that there's people on this call, on this Zoom, who had sales that you've written in the last 2 months, some that you've turned in, to us, and you did them virtually and you didn't do any, you serviced your clients. Others, as we found in other markets in Pennsylvania, it seems like our industrious agents maybe wrote some purchase contracts virtually with some really creative language, like we will have a home inspection upon the governor allowing home inspections to be done. We didn't know about the yellow phase. I mean, I've actually seen that written, or upon shelter at home orders being changed, we will allow home inspections to be completed or finish the termite inspection or whatever it is. And we have other deals that were written with no inspections, cash, purchasing home warranty, whatever it may be. But maybe some agents didn't turn in the hand money or the earnest money. Listen, if you didn't, grace period, get it into your offices today. Let us get that money deposited, bring those contracts in. If you haven't turned a contract in that's pending just because you haven't, come into the office or you were worried about getting shamed by somebody else or getting in trouble, please, let's get those purchase agreements in today, tomorrow, this week. So we also can help you and your managers can help you, because if you wrote a contract, typically there's dates tied to that contract. And so this is an important week to be calling inspectors to make sure if Friday's the first day they're going to inspect. I know some inspectors are already out there because they're following under the construction guideline, but if you've got inspections that need to be done, you should be calling an inspector today and say, can you get me in on Friday? Can you get me on Saturday? Can you get me on Monday? So you don't have to push the dates back. You should be checking with Howard Hanna Mortgage or whatever mortgage company you've used. What's the status of that? Have they ordered an appraisal yet? What's the status of where the mortgage is? So those things start to get done. If you already have a closing set up for June, have you talked to the closing company? Where are you with that? Really looking at that supply chain of what happens. We write contracts and then there's a lot of things that happen to get them closed. And maybe we wrote them thinking, oh, the time would come. You don't want to wait till Friday and Saturday. You don't want to be behind the supply chain on a home inspection, a termite inspection, a radon inspection, an appraisal being done. You want to get on this today and look at that and allow your managers to help you organize that. And that's number one. Number two, thing we have to look at is our buyers. We've had a lot of traffic at howardhanna.com. You've all worked really hard to stay in front of your buyers with a lot of the marketing assets we've created, saying now's a good time to buy. Rates are extremely low. There's a pent-up buyer demand. Even in light of the layoffs, I'm going to be very honest with you, I am shocked at the amount of bidding battles across all of Howard Hanna Company and the buyer demand that's there. It's not just the people that were looking before they got sent home. It's a whole new market. We're seeing people who are in apartments coming out as first-time buyers because they want a little piece of heaven. They want their own backyard. They don't want to be in a shared building. We're seeing a lot of first-time buyers taking advantage of rates and coming out. And let's not forget, this all happened at the height of our spring market. So it's just the general spring market. So with your buyers, the people in your sphere, I'd be calling 7 people every day this week, just saying to them, hey, you thinking about buying a house? Because we're also seeing people who are in their home so much that they've realized that they want something bigger. They want something smaller. They want more family area. They want a bigger backyard, whatever it is. And we get those buyers, 2 things we should be doing. Number 1 is getting them pre-approved. We've got to get those buyers pre-approved because their offer is going to be stronger. There's going to be bidding battles. And the buyers who are pre-approved with Howard Hanna Mortgage, quite honestly, are going to have better chance of getting their deal closed than somebody who says, well, I'll find my house and then get pre-approved. The other thing is talking to your Howard Hanna Mortgage loan originator about the advanced equity loan program. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, the buy before you sell program, a couple of weeks ago on one of our webinars. Duffy was on. Because we saw this week a lot of people get qualified for buy before you sell so that they could take the equity out of their existing house, buy today, and then get the house on the market after they're under contract because they know with low inventory will sell the house. They're just freeing up the equity. And the third thing is that I know it's not common practice of what we do, but I would love to see a lot of you get exclusive buyer agency contracts signed. really listing the buyer for the next 60 days, because you're going to be so busy. You're going to have so much going on. You're going to be showing so many houses that if that buyer is sitting at home and sees a house and they call, if I call Joanne and she doesn't get back to me in an hour, I may call the listing agent. I may call somebody else. And even if they're your best friend, they may not have that loyalty because they don't want to lose a home today knowing the inventory is low. So getting that exclusive buyer agency contract will potentially protect you. I also, with the buyers, is if you haven't already, and I'm going to ask the admins to help you this week, if you get into them before Friday, by Friday, they're going to go crazy processing your deals. But if you can sit with your manager and your admin, if you haven't put your buyers into Real Scout, please put your buyers into Real Scout. It's going to help us in two ways. Number one, they're going to get that update from you. It looks like you're really giving them information and they're going to give you feedback. It's going to help you when you're busy. Number two, when you go on a listing appointment, it's going to help you with the listing, because as you saw, if you watch the buyer graph that we've launched with Real Scout, the more buyers we have in there, we can show, and through buy side, we can show the true question of the market to a seller and say how we can get them more money. And that goes to listings. You know, the thing I love the best, I was a listing agent. I was not a buyer's agent. I hated showing buyers houses. I'll be the first to tell you, I love listing them and let the rest of you sell them and do the marketing. We need listings right now. There's not a model list we're in that the listings aren't down significantly. And they've been down. We all know that for 2 years. So we need to create a listing market for ourselves. And today, where I would say we need to create it is we need to call people and tell them how much that we can get for their home. This market today, you've got to throw comps out the door. You've got to throw the CMA of houses that are 3 or 4 months ago out the door. You got to look at supply and demand today. You got to look at showing reports through the model list. You got to look at activity. You got to break down where the traffic is on your listings on websites. You'll be able to see that. And if it's a neighborhood that's a 250 neighborhood, and it's always been 250 to 270, maybe we've got to say, hey, let's challenge the market today because there's nothing for sale. And let's get 290. Let's try 300. It can always come down, but we're seeing that. We're seeing bidding battles with houses over price. A seller isn't going to list unless they see true value, unless they have to right now. And we've got to create that market for them and challenge the market in that sense. So I would be going out and I would use buy side. A lot of agents were pushing out buy side to their sphere last week saying, hey, find out how much your home is worth, you know, and get in a conversation. They go on and they, not only can they see what some of the estimates say it's worth and talk to you about the reality of the price, but we also can say, oh, by the way, this house that's in Chippewa, you know, we have 25 buyers for this house right now that I can reverse prospect to. So why don't you just put it on at a challenge price at this price? And hey, if I take it $10,000 less, I have 50 buyers, but let's go after these 25 first. Let's create the market. Let's create the urgency. Let's create the impact. So those are all things I would be doing. Buyers, I would also be setting, and listing agents, I'd be setting your appointments. I'd be organizing your Friday and your Saturday and your Sunday in advance. You know, one of the things that's out there is that as if it was, some companies looked at a mandate that you couldn't set appointments until Friday last week in Western Pennsylvania. We did not read it that way. Our attorneys didn't read it that way. They said it was recommended, but it was that you couldn't show and you couldn't have a lot. So we had agents setting appointments Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday last week, all into Friday. And we did have agents who didn't pay attention to that and agents from other companies who were upset because they were calling Friday and people were saying, well, I've already got an appointment set up for at noon, 1, 3, 5. You know, I don't know when I can get you in with the safe guidelines. So you want to organize yourself, organize your day, organize all that we can. So I to steal some thunder from my father last week, he couldn't join us this morning. He had another meeting. But last week he said to the group that was yellow phased in Western Pennsylvania, he said, this is like the great real estate invasion. Now, if you know Hadi, he gave it with probably a lot more gusto, you know, and he was looking for some military attack vehicle, great military invasion, the great real estate invasion. And he wasn't wrong. If you have your friends who are in other parts of Western Pennsylvania, in Erie, and you saw them on social media, on Friday morning, agents across the board were getting up, they were dressed, they were ready, they had a plan, they were ready to go, they were posting at 8:30 in the morning, you know, it's going to be a long weekend, but I'm here to service my customers and clients. And you even saw ones last night toasting the market with a beer or a glass of wine saying, you know, hey, I'm here, I'll be back at it tomorrow. It was a long weekend, but you know, the amount of sales, the amount of activity was really great. So But if it is going to be like that, and it's going to be agents everywhere and buyers who are comfortable to come out, people who want to buy, we got to do these little things. We got to get the supply chain prepared. We got to get the showings prepared, buyers into pre-approvals, loan officers. You got to talk to every agent in your office in the next 2 days. Just pick up the phone and call them and say, do you need anybody to get pre-approved? What can I do to help you? What do you need for this weekend? What do you need to get ready? So that we can really get a huge impact and come out this week strong with this big real estate invasion. So with that, I'm going to pull it back to the rest of the group with questions. Thanks for indulging me to go through all this. Each week I go through it and it probably gets a little bit longer because I have more familiarity of what we're saying. But I'm going to sort of go through the questions and bring them back to the team to answer. And some, looking just at the chat first, Dick said, if a co-broker shows a listing of ours, what forms should we require them prior to the showing? And Joanne, you want to answer that one for everybody in case they missed it?
Yes, there are 2 forms available. Hobie had referenced they're not required, but it would be the COVID HSA and the COVID PAN, and those forms will be available for your review, and you can review with your manager probably in a sales meeting or individually. But they're forms that a seller and a buyer can disclose any symptoms or active coronavirus, and also a disclosure, just letting everybody know potentially what their exposure is when they view the property. Again, you don't have to use them. They're for your use and your discretion.
Right. Now, Jerry Cambick asked a question. If we raise the selling price of a home higher than a CMA shows, doesn't the house still have to appraise? I want to answer that one. Yes, it does. But I wouldn't, the last thing I'd be worried about right now is appraisals. What you're going to see is you're going to see cash deals. You're going to see prices go higher. And I'll worry about the appraisal when the house sells because we need the inventory right now. CMA is not a be all and end all of pricing. Because the other thing is if you listen to my dad on Friday's webinar, and if you missed it, you could go back. He was great talking about, in this market, our job is a listing agent is get the most money for a seller. And the CMA is only for a moment in time. You don't know about 3 deals that are pending that are going to close and what they really are closing for. You don't know about cash deals. And then our job is when we get it under agreement, we have a buyer who's willing to pay it and the seller is willing to accept it, is to do some old school things like meet the appraiser and hand them an envelope with some basic comps. Meet the appraisal and say, here's some pending deals, by the way, that just so you know that they're around the market. Give them some detail why the house is worth more, that this kitchen was upgraded than the one they didn't see next door. So I think we have to be CMA. I wouldn't even really use a CMA right now, except for to know general perspective. I wouldn't go pigeonhole and say, here's the 3 best comps to your house. Because the market value, you've got to know supply and demand right now. It's basic economics.
Yeah, Gina Bond brought up a good point. She just listed a house on Thursday. She has 6 offers on it, all over asking price with escalation clauses, all sight unseen. And that goes back to what Hobie was saying in the market. You have to let the market seek its own level. And that's what's happening right now. The last thing we want to do is real estate agents to restrict the value of the market. You've got to be able to read the market and understand, talking to your fellow agents, understanding what's going on in your market, because those values today in every market are going to slowly inch up and slowly escalate. Linda Harper asked a question: will these forms go on to zip forms? They already are, Linda. Yeah. All the forms are on zip forms, including the HANA COVID acknowledgement. As was mentioned earlier, is a little softer version. So they're all on zip forms.
Sam Stein asked, I'm concerned that COVID disclosure could be a HIPAA violation. Anybody want to answer that, or do you want me to answer that one?
Go ahead. You first, and I'll go ahead. We've heard this before. This isn't the first time we've heard it.
Go ahead, Tom. You answer it.
Yeah. Really what it is a voluntary form. You're not forcing anybody to acknowledge. It's no different, in my opinion, it's no different than the COVID acknowledgement, or the HIPAA forms, the acknowledgements that you get when you go to the emergency room or the doctor's office or whatever. They are not required. If someone is choosing not to sign them, that's their right, okay? And I think, again, as Hobie has said, a lot of this is common sense in the presentation of these forms. If the seller is going to require a form, a disclosure form for that, for a person to come in and show their home. That's a little bit of a different approach, and that's going to have to be discussed with the buyer going in. So again, it's open communication. Every situation is going to be different. There's no, the thing about this, there's no playbook for this. These things are adjusting as we go. And, these guidelines, even our attorneys tell you, these guidelines we have 3 weeks from now, the governor could come out with another mandate or another recommendation, who knows? And we have to go back and tweak our guidelines. We don't know that for a fact. But that being said, I have to assure you that for the last probably 6-7 weeks, we've had a COVID task force in place in the company, as Hobie mentioned earlier, with our attorneys, myself, a lot of regionals were involved. We were engaged with not only a lot of state legislators, a lot of legislators, a lot of people from the governor's office, as well as medical advisors. And so these are very well thought out. This wasn't just something that some administrative assistant, typed up, when they had nothing better to do. There's a lot of thought behind this, and you really have to, I'm asking you really to trust the company, because what you're going to find is we're seeing it. I mean, we saw it the first day when Erie went into the yellow phase. They were the first officers to go into the yellow phase, Erie and Shenango. And there were agents running around with their own homemade addendums, because their companies don't have the support that you have. They don't have just the overall support. So they're out there making up their own addendums and, presenting them to our agents and saying, you have to sign this. We don't have to sign anything. And that's where, again, common sense. When somebody comes to you, you're going to have that. You're going to find that in Central PA. You're going to find it in Beaver. There's going to be companies, these small companies especially, or these franchise companies that don't have the support that you guys have. The agents are on their own. They're going to be making up their own addendums. And
Okay, so let me add to that on a couple of things, Tom. A couple other questions that are there is Katie Horn, just playing off that, is Howard Hanna requiring that we must use the Howard Hanna advisory acknowledgement? No, Katie, we're not. We put that out originally before everything else for agents who are asking for something and just felt that they wanted it for their own level of comfort, or, as Tom was mentioning, another company doing something. And then somebody anonymous asked a question on the Howard Hanna acknowledgement. It talks about wearing mask, gloves if medically necessary. What does that mean? I'm going to have to go back and look at that, and whether or not, I believe that's been updated, because as I mentioned, when we first did the Howard Hanna acknowledgement form, that was, if you recall, if you go all the way back to 2 months ago, originally it was not, even the government recommended you not wear gloves and masks. Then they changed and reversed their course on one of Trump's speeches, if you recall. And I have a concern that I know we updated that, and maybe you have an old form, or we got to make sure that we pull down off of everywhere the old forms, because now the state of Pennsylvania is saying that we are asking people to wear masks and gloves, not if it's medically necessary. Of course, we've seen a lot of the different protests of people who have a medical reason that they can't wear a mask, anxiety, and they have a letter from a doctor. I don't want to be like some of the grocery store chains out there and get in fights with people and tell them that they can't show a house. I think that's where we go back to having just common sense with our buyers and sellers and explaining a situation. And if a seller says, no, I don't care, no one could come in my house without a mask, I don't care if they have a medical situation, then that would be the seller's choice on that. We'd have to explain that to the buyer and figure a workaround or not. So then there's also, can I list a house on Thursday? The answer to that question is, you can list a house today if you do it all virtually. If you do it all online, if you do a Zoom meeting like many agents have done, and they've walked through the house and you've sent them all the forms and the documents to sign, and you've reviewed price, you can do all that virtually today, last week, tomorrow. But you're not supposed to, by the governor's orders in the yellow phase, physically be in somebody's house, listing their house, until Friday. So hopefully that helps you. I know everybody wants to find their ways around the mandates and the rules, but we have a lot of agents who listed a lot of homes last week virtually. And so much of our technology stack you can do today. You can do your whole HANA presentations virtually online on a screen share. Then you could have them walk around the house and show you the house. You could use buy side to figure out the pricing model and where you wanted to be and discuss where the buyers are. So, a lot of the technology can really help you, and maybe it'll be things. I know some people don't want to learn it. I think it might be, some of these things might be the new norms, even showing houses. I know a lot of agents, even in Pittsburgh, they were all last week with their buyers doing virtual showings and then narrowing down to here's the 2 or 3 houses we really want to go out and look at on Friday or Saturday. Okay. What if litigation because of any kind of accusations okay. As Tom just said, yeah, your E&O, your legal department, William and anybody else, please realize we've got your back. If you use use the forms, use the safe practicing, I'm sure that this country will see all kinds of crazy lawsuits from the coronavirus. Okay. But I got to tell you, every attorney we've talked to has said, whether you use forms or not, you use the safe practicing means, you have discussion. If a buyer calls you and wants to show a house or see a house, if a seller says you can bring somebody in, we're not in a liability standpoint. Sure, anybody can sue anybody for anything, but we will protect you on that. We've got the back of all of our agents and ourselves. So,
Okay, you made an important comment before, and I think everybody has.
William, thanks for asking. I see that that you're not concerned, but you just wanted to ask that, and I appreciate you asking that question on behalf of many people, because I just want you. I want everybody to just, if you're ready and comfortable to go do business, go do business.
That's exactly right.
Don't trip over the rules and a lot of other things, and be safe, be smart, use common sense, and go help your buyers and sellers who want to achieve their real estate needs, and help your family in terms of providing for a livelihood for yourself.
Toby, if I may just comment on the 7 offices that did open.
Yeah.
The transition initially is a little awkward because it's like Tom and you both said, it's new, but it works. People are listing and selling houses. They're comfortable. They communicate and they come to an agreement. And one of the best practices that the office has been doing on multiple offers and worrying about the appraisal is they make copies of those multiple offers. And they show that there were other people who wanted to pay that price, as well as the one that went under contract. So that helps very much when the appraiser is making that consideration.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Is the seller or the agent responsible for the gloves for the buyers? Anybody want to take that one?
Well, I don't think that at this point in time, we're 10 weeks into this, probably 12 weeks into this event, as I call it. I highly doubt that there's people out there that don't have gloves and masks, but if they do, there's really not anybody's responsibility. The seller doesn't have to provide them. If the seller feels that they want to have some available, that's certainly, if they have access to them, it certainly, can do that. If buyers are going to go out and look at homes today, I think what you're going to find in our industry is changing, and our business is going to change. I think that you're going to find that consumers are going to demand social distancing. They're going to demand virtual interactions with agents and with customers and consumers, and that's going to be a way of life going forward. As we move down that direction, I think you're going to find that a lot of buyers and sellers do have access to these gloves. And I think that's certainly, again, common sense. Is that a question that you ask to your buyer when you take them out? Do you have masks available or face coverings available? Not necessarily masks, but face covering available. If somebody doesn't have a handkerchief that they could put, over their nose and mouth, and I don't know what to say.
Well,
but
Tom, I'll sort of say, because I know every state's different, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And again, like we keep going to the common sense. What I will tell you is that in most other markets where everybody has said, even in Pennsylvania, said this is best practice, they have not come out and said that a real estate company must provide the things, or that a seller must provide, or that a buyer must. They're saying, hey, to show houses, this is what you're supposed to do. by all means, if you want to practice your business on a service level and you want to go to, there's a lot of places, auto parts stores, Walmart, beauty supply stores, people can buy the plastic gloves. You can take them, have them for somebody. If somebody says, hey, I don't want to wear gloves, I just won't touch anything, that's their consumer choice. There's not like a mandate that you have to. I mean, and like in Ohio, we opened all of our restaurants this past week and retail, and like life has opened up. Now, I went to a little market and they had a sign on their door saying, we ask you to wear a mask, because what they'd sold retailers was their choice of it's up to the retailer to decide if you want to wear a mask in Ohio. Okay. But the market said, we ask you to wear a mask and gloves on entering the store. Well, I didn't have gloves, and I did have, I keep this handkerchief with me. So I put that on to respect the store owner. And I said, hey, I don't have gloves. And they said, that's okay. I mean, it was like they put it on there, but there wasn't, they were like, that's okay. We still want you to buy. And, and then other people, I saw one gentleman there who had gloves on, but it had a big hole in his palm. So I guess, so it just, we're all, like Tom said, we're in what the new normal is. We won't know long-term. We just be smart. We be patient. We be collaborative, and we think about how we protect ourselves and how we protect others. Let's see. I would think agents listing homes will want to see a pre-approval before they can show a potential buyer to protect their seller. Glenn, I said that earlier. I would tell you right now, if I was a home owner or a listing agent, I would want pre-approvals to see my houses. And that's why I said before, our loan officer should call every agent this week just to see if you need a pre-approval done for a buyer. They should be hustling and humping starting today. And if you're an agent working, if you have a buyer, you have a friend, you have somebody in your sphere, I'd be calling them and saying, let's get you pre-approved by Howard Hanna today. Let's get you that pre-approval letter, because number one, yes, sellers may want it, but then when you get, and I will tell you, there will be bidding battles this week on houses that you won't even believe there's bidding battles on. And the stronger offer is going to win, and that stronger offer is going to be one that's pre-approved. Let's see. Relating to small brokerages creating their own forms, what do you recommend we do once we refuse to sign their forms and the listing agent refuses to give us access to show their clients' homes because we refuse to sign their form? All right, I'll be real simple. I wouldn't get in a fight with them. I'd say, can't we just use the PAR form? Why do we have to use your form? And then if they say, well, you have to use our form, I'd get it to your manager, let our legal department look at it, and say to the buyer, that way we can say to your buyer, we don't think this form protects you. When Tom talks about the forms that are out there, they're ones that are really one-sided. We saw a couple companies say that there was no liability on their seller or them. Any and all future liability for anything that could happen would be on the Howard Hanna agent and their buyer. So our buyers weren't willing to sign that to see a house. Will there be somebody out there that decides to play a game, ladies and gentlemen? And we know those agents that will say, because they want to sell it themselves, then, if somebody really wants that house, I would make an offer, a virtual offer on the house if they really loved it, and maybe put a contingency in there that they can see the house without signing a form within 24 hours of accepted offer. So at least you get your offer put in. But we know people will play games, and we just have to hope that everybody's operating on the highest regards and standards through this as we sell houses. What's the best camera to use for virtual tours? Anybody have an opinion on that?
Well, Matterport is expensive.
Yeah, Matterport's good. And also agents have been using tripods with their cameras. The biggest thing that they've found is that the cameras on the phones, if you have a relatively new phone, is sufficient, but it's the stabilization that makes the viewing better.
Yeah, there's one of the agents in Ohio who's very good with virtual tours, and virtual is using a selfie stick. It's kind of a high-end selfie stick that does a stabilization of the camera, a stabilization of your phone. It's like $99, I think it is, he said online. So a lot more agents are getting into those stabilization selfie sticks and using their phones, quite frankly, because a camera phone is great, unless you're going to go with like Matterport or some 360, and then you're getting into a little bit more expensive cameras. I saw that, Bill Rudge mentioned about sellers will set their own rules. To a degree, they probably will. We need to guide them and nurture them. You're exactly right, Bill. communication, conversation with sellers and buyers is critically important. Not just loading, somebody and I would not suggest you load somebody in your car, have them follow you, but not take them out on a Sunday afternoon, show them 15 homes. A lot of that can be eliminated virtually by sitting down and knowing your inventory and walking through some of the homes. Instead of, you can see 15 virtually and you may eliminate 13 or 12 or 10 and only go out and show 4 or 5 that really fit the needs of that buyer. So it's just conversation. It's being smart and just doing some different business the way like we're not used to doing in the past. So.
And Rosemary, I would say about the cameras, and for anybody, I think that right now there are so many options, and we're looking at them as a company. There are so many options. Some of you might be part of the beta test for the Stream product, which we're doing with HSA. They have an application basically that takes photos, and it's working for some. Some are not even doing virtual tours with cameras. They're doing screen sharing of virtual tours with just what's on howardhanna.com and walking through multiple photos, just sharing the screen of howardhanna.com and going through houses and looking at the photos and pictures that are there. There's some 360 cameras. There's a Ricoh camera that's new, that supposedly there's the selfie stick that Tom mentioned, or just even the phone you have. I think it's more of just putting something on there on your website or just trying it in some capacity to drive consumer confidence. And nobody is like one over the other. People have preferences and there are pricing. And I will tell you that, pricing is even coming down on things like Matterport. Matterport has a new app that they're releasing to the consumer that's like a 360 app that you can share and use yourself, and less than having the whole Matterport camera and photographer and everything else. So there's a lot of vehicles that you can test and hopefully just see how it works differently. If we are not able to show homes until this Friday, we should still be able to apply for unemployment for this week. Okay, Ross, Standard asked that. I know that's a question. To be honest with you, this unemployment question, everybody, I've got to tell you something. As far as I know, this is the first time in any form of recession, depression, pandemic that independent contractors have been granted the right to get unemployment. As far as I understand, and I'm not an unemployment lawyer or an accountant, and I don't play one, and we get a lot of varying differences. My first thing is you should talk to your accountant, or you should talk to somebody from the unemployment agency to understand, because I think it's all over the map with us being independent contractors and not salaried employees. But I understand from some folks is that you can, I guess, collect unemployment until you collect your first closing check, is what I understand. That's when, now I could be completely off base, so I would go talk to an attorney, an unemployment attorney, or somebody from the state, and find that information out. And I know that unemployment has helped a lot of people, especially where we've been really locked and shut down. And it's great that the government did that. I wouldn't be surprised though if they pull back the reins on real estate agents, because we know across many states there's real estate agents that are getting a full-blown unemployment and they didn't make $10,000. And I think when the states and governments find out the level of divergence, some of these people think all of our agents made like $1 million last year because they were part of $1 million club. I think that there's going to be some change there. So me personally, I would just be out there listing and selling and doing as much as I can. And it's probably going to come down to unemployment being for an independent contractor when you receive a check. Tom, have you heard anything different, or Joanne?
No, I've heard the same thing, Hobie. And actually I heard that, I think Joanne, you were telling me if you get a check 1 week, you can go back in and apply the next week. Is that correct, as you understand it?
That's the way it is, but I don't know what it's going to be once we're deemed virtual. I can't imagine they're going to keep doing that for the remainder of the year.
Right.
That kind of doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm not sure how it'll change once we were like really open. I would assume, like Hobie, that there's going to be a change, just common sense.
And I had a
good question here that says, do you feel there are a good number of agents from all brokerages that are sandbagging listings? I know you mentioned Hottie's remarks, but do you know of this happening already? I'm sure there are a lot of sellers out there waiting till the red zone is lifted. Bibi, you want to you've seen a lot of offices open and a lot of listings. What would be your answer to that sandbagging question?
Well, there were many agents who had listings that they were waiting until it was lifted. And like Hobie said, what they did is they capitalized on that and they put it in Find It first. They prepared to have it go into MLS, and were making appointments with the Hannah agents that had buyers. And so it worked very well in many of the offices that we were in.
Yeah, I will tell you, there were, what was the email, Tom? I think Kelly Riley sent an email out on maybe Wednesday last week. So Yellow Zone was Friday. There were 1,000 new listings in West Penn Modalist from Monday to Wednesday. So,
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And again, as BB said, a lot of our agents were smart about it because they put it into Find It first, and they had that lead jump of those leads coming to them for 4, 5, 6 days, whatever, however they were out in front of it. But, if you're getting the listings right now, or you're talking to sellers, I would absolutely encourage them to sign listing agreements and get the properties on the market, because it's going to be a very active market. You'll see. It's just amazing.
Okay. All right. I think there's some comments, but I think we've got most of the questions answered here. All right. I'll go around the horn here as we sort of close things out, but BB, any one piece of advice that after seeing other markets open that you could give to all the agents and folks on the phone or call?
Yeah, I would say the key element in the offices was communication with managers. If you come into a situation where you have documents or something that the parties are not in agreement, communicate with your manager, communicate with the buyer and seller, and get it listed.
Okay, great. Joanne.
All I want to say is that I know this has been a really challenging time, and for different reasons for different people. And I appreciate everyone's willingness to adapt to what we've been facing, and your continued adaptation to our situation. So thank you, everybody, for your cooperation and making things work when it was difficult.
That's great. Tom?
Yes, along those lines, what Joanne said, actually, I want to answer one more question. Dick Tucker sent me an email last night about House Bill 2412 and what effect that's going to have. Well, when you go to yellow, it's not going to have any effect, quite frankly, because that was designed to classify real estate as an essential business. And quite honestly, as we open in the yellow phase, it'll be a moot point at that point in time. So, I would move forward under yellow guidelines because they're basically the same guidelines, whether we're approved at 2412 or we're not. It's still going to be the same guidelines. But again, I want to, along the lines of Joanne, I know I've been on a lot of your Zoom meetings, your manager meetings, your cocktail hours, and I want to just congratulate the Central PA agents for your energy, your enthusiasm, a lot of coming through this. It's been a tough 8 to 10 weeks. But we're coming on the other side of it, and just again, be smart, use common sense, and go out there and do business. It's there, and those of you who believe in listings, go get those listings, because that's going to be the key to success. I think we're going to have an incredible June. We're going to have a very good June, and the third and fourth quarters are going to be very, very strong according to everything we're seeing. Interest rates are great. You're still going to see buyer demand out there, although it might be a little bit different, but there's going to be buyer demand out there. And, so take advantage of it. It's a great opportunity coming.
Great. And I'll close with this, couple things. One is, yes, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your perseverance. This has been, like Tom said before, there's no playbook for what we've been through and what we will continue to fight through as a society, as a country, and as a company. And we'll do all we can to support you. Now is a time, as Hottie said, that for Central Pennsylvania and Beaver, this is going to be like the big invasion. There's going to be a lot of activity this week. And a couple things I would say. If you do not feel safe going out yet, God bless you, stay safe. But I'm also going to ask you, reach out to your manager, reach out to your friends, and partner with each other, work with each other, say, do not tell your customers, hey, let's wait till June. They will not. We already saw that last week. I know 3 top agents who just didn't feel safe. They didn't listen to our requests to talk to other agents because they thought they would control their clients and customers. They lost some big deals last week. And unfortunately, one of them we lost because they went to a whole other company. So I'd rather put you together. I'd rather your manager work and match up partnerships with the people who do feel comfortable. So we're servicing our customers and our clients because they will come out. So please take that into account. If you don't feel safe, do not feel ashamed. Everybody's in a different boat in this ocean of where you need to be. So let us help you. If you do feel safe, if you're ready to go, just go back to those things we said earlier. Be calling your clients and customers, getting everything lined up. Be ready to have them. Lean on your real estate managers to help you. Loan officers, it's time to support our agents. Please, call them today. Find out what you can do to help them get their buyers pre-approved. Let's be there to help the whole everybody do what they need to do. And then finally, I know we have admins out there. I thank you for all that you've been doing to work remotely like you have, and have to be set up in your homes. And I know some of you probably have children at home and family and disturbances, but you've been rock stars. We probably haven't mentioned it enough. You've been rock stars for us in the marketplace, to make sure the deals are happening or there. Stay patient. We'll help you through this, and we'll get through this surge. And last thing, admins, don't forget that if you have friends that are thinking about buying, or you have friends that are thinking about selling, talk to your manager. You can refer them through the manager and through our business development group to one of our agents and receive a bonus. So I'd love for you all in this surge to receive bonuses too. I know my admin texted me last night and said, hey, I have 2 friends that want to sell their house. How do I get my bonus? And I said, well, we'll talk about it this morning and fill out the referral forms and the proper paperwork. So let's all be in this together, and then we'll all be close to being with each other soon, live, not just on Zoom meetings. And thank you for your time. Thank you for all that you do to make Howard Hanna a great company, and happy getting back to work this week and getting in the yellow phase. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, guys, I'm going to jump off here. Thank you.
Thank you, Hobie.
Thanks, Joanne.